Good morning. My name is Inga Cotton. I'm the founder and executive director of San Antonio Charter Moms, and it's 9 a.m. on Monday, April 13th, and I'm back with another Charter Moms chat, and I try to do this every weekday around 9 a.m. and just talking about topics that are relevant because of these strange circumstances of being under a stay-at-home order here in San Antonio, and that the schools are closed. I guess officially the earliest that they might reopen is May 4th or 5th, but there's always a chance that they're going to extend that order. So we're talking about education and what that's like while we're doing stay-at-home schooling, which is not really the same as homeschooling. So the topic I wanted to talk about today, it's come up in the San Antonio Charter Moms discussion group. And if you're not already a member, I hope you will join, because we're sharing a lot of resources in there that will help you navigate these times. We're supporting each other. We're sharing news about things like school closures or parks or where to get meals, where to get technology. But the topic that came up the other day was grading. So if the kids are not going to school, if they're doing their work at home, can their work still be assigned letter grades, as it was before, or do we need a different system? And different districts are handling this differently, and I don't think we've seen the final word on, how this is all going to shake out. So I wanted to talk about grading policies. If you have a thought, write a comment, and I'll try to work that into my discussion. So the comment that came up in the group the other day was basically if teachers are evaluating the work that students are doing right now, to what extent are they really evaluating what the students are doing, and how much does it have to do with the circumstances that the student is working in? So, for example, if a family does not have internet access at home, or if the only device they have is a mobile phone with a limited amount of data, is a child really able to do distance learning that way? And to some extent, schools can send home paper packets or things like that. There are challenges about that. So in the local news, we've seen reporting, Texas Public Radio and the San Antonio Express News wrote about how many families have been contacted by their kids' schools and how many are still not being contacted yet. And so it seems like there's different factors. So, like San Antonio ISD, Northside ISD, Northeast ISD all reported different rates. I think these numbers are still fluid. I think it's important that the districts are sharing this information. I think that it sounds like they're still working, they're still trying, but we're on, let's see, week 4 of, well, it depends how you count. I guess this is, let's see, I guess based on, when spring break was, right? Most kids would have had like 4 weeks of school between spring break and today. And if there's some substantial number, maybe, who knows, maybe 20% of students in San Antonio, maybe more, who have not been doing school in any form over those 4 weeks, then that's a serious problem, and those students are going to be behind. But I don't want to get sidetracked, because what I did set out to talk about today was grading. So let's assume, that there are students who are, either getting online or getting a packet or something, and so they are in touch with their school. But what are the conditions like at home where they're working? Is there a family member present who can, supervise them, answer questions? And it kind of depends. It's different for different ages, right? Like a young child might really need an adult to sit with them and answer questions kind of step by step. Hopefully the school's provided some kind of teaching materials, or maybe an answer key or something that the adult's going to work from. For older kids like middle school or high school, they may be able to work more independently. But there are challenges like, parents who are still, maybe they can work from home, but they still have obligations to meet for their jobs. Or if there are parents who have essential jobs and they're still leaving the home to work, then, maybe the schoolwork isn't being done until late in the evening, and that's a difficult circumstance. And so another question is, so is it fair to grade students when they're doing the work under different circumstances, like, depending on what opportunities they have outside of school? This has always been a problem, even when kids could go to school, as far as how much support they could get at home. But schools had more tools to try to remedy this, right? Like they had, like some teachers would give students their cell phones or answer email after hours to help with homework, or the schools could provide like tutoring hours, or have access to their computer labs. So there were more things that schools could do, when they had, when they could meet face to face with students. And when they're not meeting face to face with students, then there's fewer things they can do to kind of close the gap, depending on what support they have at home. There's inequalities among families. So another question that comes up with grading. So what if the schools don't give letter grades anymore? What if they kind of freeze the grade, based on what it was before spring break, or maybe for the last quarter they switch to like a pass-fail grade? I think another question, and so my friend Erica Sanzi asked this on Twitter, would that change kids' motivation if they know that something is just being done for pass-fail, or is it marked as like complete, incomplete, in progress? And that kind of raises a different set of questions. So to some extent, good learning depends on having habits that, kind of like putting in the time, and I feel like I'm kind of spoiled because both my kids are still working pretty diligently on their packets from home, even though they haven't really asked, like, is this being graded? I think to some extent, I think their teachers have done a really good job building up over the years, a good attitude about wanting to be a learner and not just doing it for the grade. So I feel like I'm coming at from a privileged position of having kids who want to learn for the sake of learning. And I think even if they knew they weren't being graded, they would still work hard because they want to keep making progress and they want to be ready for, the next school year, whenever that comes. But I understand, like, some kids might push back and they might say, well, if this is only for pass-fail and, my dreams are in a different direction, I'm just not going to get that invested in this subject. I think to some extent those kids are doing themselves a disservice because it's good to be well-rounded. It's good to have a good base of knowledge in a lot of different subjects because you really know what the future holds. And it's good to keep up good habits of discipline and learning, so that you're prepared for, at some point life will go back to some kind of normal, and they'll need to fall back on that knowledge that they've learned. They'll need to have good steady habits and know how to function in a classroom again. But honestly, I don't know how to counsel parents who are trying to keep their kids motivated, and that might be, maybe I need to bring a mental health expert or a tutor or an experienced teacher on for a chat sometime, and maybe they can offer their advice. If you have thoughts about that, please comment and share in the group, because I'm still I don't know, we've been able to build it up over time, but I think it can be hard to keep that going when there's a sudden change in circumstances. Another thing too is if the grading system changes, then how does that impact especially students in high school who are preparing to go to college, to apply to college, and like how will this impact their GPAs? Is a complete in an AP course the same weight as a complete in an honors or regular course? I don't know. This is uncharted territory. And then there's even things like universities. Okay, so my understanding is that AP exams will still be administered but International Baccalaureate is taking a break, and that SAT and ACT, those standardized tests for college admission, that those are on hold, and that folks don't know when they would be able to sit for those tests again. So colleges are, it depends on the school, but some of them are looking at accepting students who have not taken standardized tests. So I think Trinity University locally was one. So students can just take their transcript, their GPA, their other admissions information, and not a standardized test, and still apply for admission. And this just changes a lot of stuff. So again, maybe I need a guest to talk about, college advising and how things are different, in this new environment. I think my thoughts in general have been that even before this situation, that students and families have been putting a lot of pressure on themselves for college admission, as far as like GPA and standardized test scores, and that I don't think it matters as much as people think it matters. Whether you get into a highly selective school or a school that's maybe not as well known, but will still help you get closer to your goal. And that in the long run, it's having a passion for what you do, and having, the self-discipline to get really good at it, and to, meet people who can mentor you, that those are more important determinants of success than whether you go to a very selective school or, just a school that is not well known, but, will teach you the knowledge and skills and help you build the connections that you need to get forward. So that's my perspective on it. But again, my kids are young, they're 10 and 12. I have, my oldest is a 7th grader. So he's not in the thick of college admission stuff. And, if your kids are in that situation and you're stressed about it, I can't tell you to not be stressed about it, because there's just a lot of uncertainty, and you want the best for your kids. So I feel like I've raised a lot of questions and not a lot of answers. But I think this opens some opportunities for more discussions, and I'm setting up to be able to bring guests on to Charter Moms Chats. So tomorrow we're going to have Christina Noriega. We're going to talk about the digital divide and equity, and ways that schools can help students get online to do distance learning. And she has some strong opinions on that she shared in comments the other day. And I was like, well, I will have you. She'll be our first guest on the show, and we hope to have more guests in the future. So if there's a topic that came out during today's chat, whether it's things like college admissions or how to motivate your students, we can, let me know what you think would be interesting, and I'll try to get guests on the show who can answer those questions. So I will be back online at 9 a.m. Central on Tuesday with a guest, Christina Noriega. So I hope you'll tune in then. Bye.